Number 11 of A Christmas Miscellany 2018 by Various. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Number 11, The December Surprise, The Telephone Santa Claus by Patton Beard. The December Surprise. Of course, you know as well as Dotty that there was a pen wiper in the first Christmas pocket. The writing on that pocket said, not to be opened till after you have seen all your presents from the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. Marjorie liked the pen wiper ever so much. She said that it could be used at school. It was made of round red circles of cloth and had a button sewed at its center. The story pocket was quite bulky, and it said, "Open on Christmas Eve for a bedtime story." Marjorie read it aloud as she and Dot curled up in a big, cozy, comfortable at bedtime. They had to have a very special dispensation from Mother. She said that the surprise book story that came on Christmas Eve might keep the bedtime light lit till it was finished. So Marjorie read aloud The Telephone Santa Claus. The shops were full of Christmas toys. There were Christmas greens and fir trees everywhere. Big ribbon-trimmed holly wreaths began to appear in front windows, and everybody in the streets carried Christmas bundles. At this time, too, Mary Louise, who lived in a large and beautiful house with Mother and Daddy, and who was the only little girl they had, began to plan what she should ask Santa Claus to bring her. Can anybody ever have too many toys? Mary Louise had a whole toy closet full. There were certain very best toys put by Nurse on the top shelf for special occasions, and there were countless everyday toys, some of them a bit broken, but a great many of them quite whole and splendid, ever so much nicer than the toys that Mary Louise's little friends had to play with. Still, Mary Louise wanted more toys. The list that she now was writing in her round, wiggly handwriting had already covered several sheets of large pad paper that Nurse had given her. Mary Louise sat at the big flat desk in the library. Her velvet dress was almost lost in the big armchair that was Daddy's favorite. Behind her was a cheerful fire on the hearth, and it snapped and crackled joyously. Mary Louise's blue eyes traveled about the room as if seeking fresh inspiration in the objects that they rested upon. She already had everything, but she wanted more, and so she put the pencil on the paper and continued the letter to Santa Claus. "I want 2 new teddy bears, the biggest you have, Santa Claus," the pencil said. "I want one that is pure white like snow and another that is furry and brown. Both should have a squeak, and if you have any that will growl, I'd like that kind too. I want a white doll carriage lined with pink satin. They have them at Bunty's department store, for I saw them once and they cost $25. I want a big doll to go in it. I want a whole wardrobe of clothes for it, a new doll cradle, and it must have a pink silk dress too. I want a doll that will open and shut its eyes, one with real hair. It must talk too. You can bring me, beside this, a boy doll with a sled and all the different kinds of clothes that a little boy ought to wear. I want a real toy automobile with a horn and a lamp, not the kind that is like a tricycle, because I already have one like that. I mean the real kind that runs with gasoline. They cost $125, maybe a little more, but I don't think you mind what they cost. I want a doll house that is nicer than the one you gave me before. It ought to be big enough for me to go into myself, and I would like to have it built in the garden like a real house. You can put it down by the greenhouses because it will be too big to bring into our house or carry down the chimney, I know. And then, too, I want—" Mary Louise's blue eyes considered the ceiling for a space of time. "I want a ring like Mother's, one with a blue stone in it," she added. While she was trying to think of something else to ask for, the door of the library opened, and in walked Mary Louise's big daddy. He glanced for a minute at Mary Louise, and he took up the telephone. Mary Louise's daddy was busy there several minutes. He watched Mary Louise nibbling the end of her pencil, and he looked over her shoulder at the letter. As he did so, a smile crossed his face. "Writing to Santa Claus, Mary Louise?" he asked when he put down the receiver. "I was wondering what to ask for next." Mary Louise informed him. "I think I'll ask for another pony. Nibbles is very nice, of course, but I'd rather like one that will trot faster. I think I'd like a white pony with a white kid harness and a white basket cart." "You're asking for a great many things, aren't you?" Daddy suggested. "Maybe it might be well to close the letter now. I'll take it with me and mail it on the way downtown. Better address the envelope." "I might think of something more," remonstrated Mary Louise, but she folded the 6 sheets of pad paper and put them into the envelope that Daddy held out. Then she addressed it to Mr. Santa Claus, Santa Claus Land, Santa Claus Country, North Pole, exactly as Nurse had told her. Daddy put it into his overcoat pocket as Mary Louise had seen him put letters that he posted for Mother. Then, as the library door closed, she plumped herself down upon the thick black fur rug in front of the fire to look at a picture book. She had not been there very long when the telephone bell rang. James didn't come as he ought, and Marie was upstairs, so Mary Louise incommoded herself by getting up from the rug to answer it. It had already rung 3 times, and she was quite ready to scold Marie for not answering it. But she did not have the chance, as Marie still did not come. So Mary Louise took up the receiver. "Hello," she called. "Hello," came a cheery answer. "What is it?" inquired Mary Louise. "I want to talk to Miss Mary Louise Snow," came the answer. "I'm Santa Claus." "Oh, I'm her," gasped Mary Louise. I'm her." Never before had Santa Claus called Mary Louise up by telephone. Never had she spoken to him, except for a few brief minutes at a Christmas party celebration. "You are," returned the voice. "Well, I'm glad you are at home, Mary Louise. There's something very special that I want to talk about. It's almost time for me to receive your usual Christmas letter. I suppose there are a great many things that you will want. Have you been a good little girl this year?" "Sometimes," Mary Louise faltered. "I have tried very hard not to have tantrums. Maybe I did once or twice, but I tried not to say things when Marie would unsnarl my hair." "Have you learned your multiplication tables?" "Up to 7s," answered Mary Louise. "I think I can say them, but I can't always remember what 7 times 9 is, and I forget 7 times 12. "That sounds as if you had tried fairly well," the voice of Santa Claus commented. "There are a great many Christmas presents that you would like, I suppose?" "Yes," returned Mary Louise. "Oh, yes, Santa Claus. I just wrote you my letter, and I hadn't quite finished it when Daddy came in and took it to mail, so maybe I'll write another later on. I didn't ask for any games or things. I might send another letter when I think of what I want. If you like, I will tell you the things that I asked for in my first letter, if I can remember them. I want a big, big doll that can talk, and it must have real hair and shut and open its eyes, and it must have blue eyes and real eyelashes, too. I asked for a pink silk dress and gloves, I think. I can't remember. And there were 2 big teddy bears with a growl and a squeak both. Very big bears, one pure white and the other furry and brown. I want a white pony, too, and a white cart and harness. The letter will tell you all about that. I forget all that I said in the letter," she explained. "It was most 6 pages long of big pad paper." "That was rather long," chuckled Santa Claus. "Yes," smiled Mary Louise, "but I think I forgot to say that I wanted gloves for the doll." "I'm not sure I can bring the gloves," Santa Claus said. "I think, however, that I might get the doll to you. Would you rather have a doll than the 2 teddy bears?" "I want both," replied Mary Louise. It seemed strange that Santa Claus should not understand a thing as simple as that. "Teddy bears are very popular, I know, but I guess you must have ever so many, and you've usually brought me nicer things than you've given other little girls that I know." "Well, maybe I can bring a teddy bear, if there's one left over, Mary Louise, but I'm not at all sure I can bring the pony this year, you know. I'm afraid I've got to cut down on your presents, Mary Louise. That's why I called up. I have something very, very important to ask you. I want to know if you can help me. I'm trying to distribute my gifts more properly this year. You know, of course, Mary Louise, that there are ever so many little children that do not get Christmas presents, especially in wartime." "Are there?" inquired Mary Louise. "I suppose it's the children who have been naughty?" "Oh, no." "What is it, then?" "It's not because I forget them or because they are naughty," explained Santa Claus's voice. "It's because too many goodies go to the rich little children. Then the poor little children who would like toys, they have nothing." "Oh!" gasped Mary Louise. "Then I suppose you've given me more than my share." "I'm afraid so," answered Santa. "Don't the poor children have anything?" "Sometimes I've given to the wrong people," came the evasive answer. "You see, I have a great deal to do. I ought to have a lot of people to help me. How can one person do it all? Sometimes I don't find the right children, and I use up the things that grow in the Santa Claus land, and then I have nothing left after the long, long lists are made up for the very particular little rich children." "Oh, dear!" "Yes, that's why. Do you want to give up some of your things this year so that they can go to the poor children?" Mary Louise reflected. "Which?" she asked. "Do you mean the doll, or the pony, or the automobile, or the new doll house?" "You have about 100 dolls, haven't you?" "No," corrected Mary Louise, "only just 76, counting the little bits of china ones in the doll house. Without these there are about 40, but only 20 are big ones." "Well," chuckled Santa Claus, "that seems to me a good deal too many. You could give up the doll, I think. Suppose that you were a little girl who had never had any doll ever." "Well, but I'd like the pink doll." "I'll tell you what," Santa Claus suggested. "You think things over. Maybe I'll find that I can spare a pink doll for you after all. But I want you to help me look out for some of the poor children this year, and I want you to buy at least 6 presents out of your very own money. I want you to find some children that I ought to know about. I want you to help them for me. I'll telephone you some addresses where there are poor children, and you must write these down and keep them, and see that the boys and girls have proper Christmas presents. Will you do it?" "Oh, yes, Mr. Santa Claus, gladly," returned Mary Louise. "I have $19 in the bank, I think. My daddy will help me." "No, I don't want your daddy to help you. It's to be your very own money." "All right, I'll not ask him. Of course, I want to help you, Mr. Santa Claus. I'd love to do it." "Well, good-bye. If I can, I'll come on Christmas Eve to your tree. You do the very best you can, Mary Louise, and invite the poor children to share your tree." The receiver was hung up at the other end of the line, and Mary Louise stood bewildered before the library table, where she had just written her long Christmas list. She stood there thinking it all over from beginning to end. She had been asked to help Santa Claus. It was a great distinction. Poor, overworked Santa Claus had appealed to her as a very rich little girl who already had everything, and she mightn't get the pink doll at all. Then Mary Louise could not keep the secret any longer, and she dashed up the stairs to Mother's room. She wouldn't let Mother go out of the room till she had told her the whole story, and Mother had a very important engagement and was all ready to go out in the car. Together they emptied Mary Louise's bank and counted out exactly $19.53. Mary Louise wanted to take it and start right out in the car to buy the presents, but with difficulty Mother explained that she had better wait till Santa Claus sent in the names and she had found out what the children wanted. And Santa Claus did telephone the names. Mary Louise was at dinner, and James answered the telephone. Mary Louise felt badly that she had not been called, but there was no need to take her away from dinner. James had the addresses on the telephone pad, Mother said. She was sure they were right. Mary Louise wished Daddy were home. It seemed to her that he would never come. As she felt sure she would need to buy a tree for the Christmas party, she got Nurse to take her to that shop in the afternoon. But it is wonderful to think that a Christmas tree costs money. Before this, Mary Louise had never considered the subject. It was a very tall tree, and it was an expensive tree. The charge for it ate into the $19.53 considerably. The things that went onto the tree must all be new. Santa Claus must see that Mary Louise had bought new ones to please him. So she bought ever so many stars and birds and balls of red, yellow, blue, green, white, silver, gold. And there was need of tinsel. If Mary Louise had had her own way, she would have spent almost all the $19.53 just on that tree without thinking of the consequences. Why, if she had, how could she have bought any presents for the poor children? Next day, after having told Daddy all about it, she wrote to the addresses that Santa Claus had given her. She wrote the letters in ink and used her very best blue note paper. All the letters were sealed with a Santa Claus sticker. It did take a great deal of time, I assure you. The invitations were to Mamie and Johnny and Toby Smith. They were to Tony Patino and Lily Wicks and Benny Wicks, who lived in a part of the city Mary Louise had never seen. Nurse said it was a very sad part of the city. When Mary Louise asked if she might go there and see it and see the children, Nurse said she guessed Santa Claus didn't know what he was talking about. She guessed not. Mary Louise insisted, but all in vain. Santa Claus had told her what the children's ages were and left the gifts to Mary Louise's selection. When Daddy had taken the letters to the poor children in his overcoat pocket to mail, Mary Louise fell to planning about the gifts. Only one little girl, all boys. How dreadful! But Mother helped Mary Louise by suggesting things that little boys might like. From her own playthings, Mary Louise selected her biggest doll for Lily, and would have given her ever so many other dolls had not Mother thought that Mary Louise might add other little girls to her Christmas list of poor children, and make the helping of Santa Claus more equally distributed among those who might otherwise be forgotten. How fast the $19.53 did go, just buying the tree and the fixings, and the sled and the overcoat and mittens and skates and carts and baseball bats. It was a tragic moment when Mary Louise suddenly discovered that Benny had been neglected and didn't have as many gifts as the others. She consulted Daddy, as there were no boys' toys among her playthings, and nothing seemed right. Daddy said, well, he said she might work and earn the money to buy Benny a present. Never in her life had Mary Louise worked to earn money. How can I earn money? She asked. Daddy thought, if you will learn the 7 times 7 table and the 8 and 9 and any of the others, I'll give you $1 for every one you can say perfectly. That's very special, Mary Louise, because it's Christmas, you know. Dear me, to think of having to sit down quietly in all the excitement of Christmas rush and learn horrid multiplication tables. If anything was work, that surely was. But where there's a will, there's a way, and Mary Louise did it. She did it so well that she remembered all of the 7 table perfectly. She also went on and learned the 8 and 9 tables and the 10 table. That was easy. Then, being quite enthusiastic, she tried hard at the others and mastered the 12 table after keeping at it a steady day. With the proceeds of these earnings, paid gravely by Daddy, she was able to buy Benny a game, and when she went to buy it and found some little poor children right by the car that stopped at the entrance of Bunty's department store, she was able to invite them then and there and go right in and buy presents for them. They needed woolen scarves and mittens, and Mary Louise had found presents on the toy shelf among the toys kept for very special occasions. These would do for them. When once Mary Louise had started to help Santa Claus, there was no knowing where it would end. Whenever she went out, she saw little children whom she was sure Santa Claus had forgotten because they looked so wistfully in at shop windows. Some of them Nurse let her speak to, and she added these to her list for the party. There seemed to be no table of 13 to learn, but Daddy gave $1 for every poem she could recite, and Mary Louise knew ever so many, and it was easy to learn short ones. Oh dear, how the time did fly! Before Mary Louise knew it, Christmas Eve was there. There had been all the fun of fixing the tree, and Daddy and Mother had helped. Mary Louise hoped Santa Claus wouldn't disappoint her. She hoped that he surely would come. She was very much relieved when James came in and said that he had just been asked to deliver a message that came from Santa Claus over the telephone. It was a telegram, and it said, "Will be at your Christmas party, Christmas Eve, 8 o'clock, Santa Claus." After that, Mary Louise didn't worry. She let Marie take the tangles out of her hair and help her into her very best pink silk dress, and then she dashed downstairs to wait for all the guests who had been invited to come. She wanted to play games with them, and she wanted to tell them all about Santa Claus, and she hoped they would like to sing carols and dance around the tree. But most of all, she hoped that they would like the presents she had arranged for them at Santa Claus's suggestion. Oh, wouldn't it be fun to see Santa Claus give out the big white teddy bear, and the big brown fuzzy bear, and the pink doll, and the cart, and the skates, and... But here the doorbell rang, and there was a scuffle of happy feet. It was Lily and Benny and Tony, and all the rest. They were as happy could be. Mary Louise greeted them all, and then they beamed upon her almost as if she were Santa Claus herself. But I just wish you could have heard the shrieks of delight when the front doorbell rang and James ushered in Santa Claus himself. It was just too bad that Daddy wasn't there to see all the fun, though Mother did hope that maybe he might be able to come later. Oh, what a good time they all did have! It was the very best and happiest Christmas that Mary Louise had ever had. It was wonderful. Why, Mary Louise had such a good time that she forgot all about the pink doll till Santa Claus came and gave it to her, after giving out all the other gifts. It was the very doll that Mary Louise had wanted, but she asked Santa Claus to be sure he could spare it, and that he had neglected nobody else to give her the doll. He said he guessed not, at least he hoped not, and then they sat on the sofa and ate ice cream together, while Santa Claus joked and told stories. But he couldn't stay very long, he said, and he had to go. Then, just afterwards, alas, in came Daddy, who might have met Santa Claus if only he had got there a wee bit sooner. And the children danced around the tree and sang carols. And then they all wished Mary Louise a happy Christmas, and went home with arms laden with packages that they hugged tight and smiled and chuckled over. After the children went, there was just Mother and Daddy left. They both kissed Mary Louise and vowed that they'd have another party again next year, maybe. Then Daddy took Mary Louise upon his knee and put a little blue ring upon her finger. It was the kind of a ring that Mary Louise had wanted, one just like Mother's, only little. And Mother told Mary Louise that her Christmas present was the dollhouse. It was coming as soon as possible. It was so big that one could play inside, and it was to be placed right close to the garden greenhouses. It was a Christmas that Mary Louise never forgot, and couldn't forget, even if it had not been for the blue ring and the multiplication tables. End of The December Surprise, The Telephone Santa Claus by Patton Beard. Number 12 of A Christmas Miscellany 2018 by Various. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Number 12, The First Christmas Surprise, The Directory Santa Claus by Patton Beard. When Dotty had made the surprise book upon that memorable day when she had not been able to go to school, she had calculated wrongly, so Marjorie's surprise book had more than the usual number of leaves, and it lasted till the following Christmas. The first surprise of that December which closed Marjorie's surprise book seemed very thick and fat indeed. It proved to be 2 stories in place of 1, and with them was a Christmas card. "I'm sorry that the surprise book must end," sighed Marjorie. "Aren't you, Dot?" And, of course, Dotty held out hopes that Santa Claus might bring another. I shouldn't wonder if he did, for Santa Claus likes to make surprises. Maybe it was he himself who had told Mother how to make the first surprise book long ago. They each chose one of the surprise book's Christmas surprise stories for Mother to read aloud on Christmas afternoon when the stories were opened. Dotty's came first. It was The Directory Santa Claus. Christmas holidays had begun, and school was out. The scholars had spoken Christmas pieces that told of gift-giving and Santa Claus. Rose Snyder and Lily Pfeiffer, with school books under their arms, pushed open the heavy oak doors of the big city library, and trotted with one accord upstairs to join the line of children waiting to get in. "I got a dandy book," Lily volunteered as they wedged into the waiting line. "It was all about a little girl that went to see Santa Claus. I'm bringing it back now. Say, Rose, you get it on your card. It's an awfully nice story." But Rose shook her head. The thin snub of her nose turned up even higher than ever. It added emphasis to her refusal. "There ain't any Santa Claus," she said. "I never had any Christmas presents from him." "Well," Lily insisted, "I ain't either, but I think there is a Santa Claus, all right. He don't know us, maybe, but he's awfully good to some children. My cousin that goes to Sunday school gets a doll and a box of candy and an orange from him every Christmas. He has a long white beard, and he's ever so jolly." "Salvation Armies, they make Santa Clauses. They're not real, only anybody dressed up." "Most likely your cousin Santa Claus was like that," Rose retorted. "The Salvation Army Santa Clauses, they always stand by the street corners to catch Christmas dinner pennies in their pails." "No, 'twasn't that kind of Santa Claus. He's real." "Well, you won't find him in no directory," Rose argued. "You just go and look, and real folks' names is in it, and you won't find Santa Claus. There ain't any." With this parting thrust, Rose squeezed through a sudden opening in the line and escaped into the reading room beyond. Lily waited for her book to be discharged, then she raised a questioning little hand toward the lady at the library desk. "Please," she asked, "where is the directory book?" "Downstairs," the librarian answered, and downstairs Lily went. The directory book was really very, very big indeed. It was almost a pity that it couldn't be a story book, for one could never have done with a story book that size, and there'd always be something new to read in it. When the fat volume was opened on its desk, Lily studied it at random, trying to make out what it all meant. She decided to begin at the very beginning, so she commenced with A, turned on to B, and ran her forefinger down page after page. It took a great deal of time and patience. The text was very small, and Lily was afraid she might overlook it. Down page after page it traveled, till it came to Claus. Oh, there it was! Claus Adolph Carpenter. No, that couldn't be Santa Claus. The whole name wasn't right, and besides that, he wasn't a carpenter, Lily felt sure. How many people there were by the name of Claus? Well, with patience one might find the right one. Then I shall tell Rose that there is a Santa Claus for sure, thought Lily. On down the list she went. There was an S.T. Claus, that was the nearest to it. Who knows what that S.T. might mean in a way of abbreviation? The address was not far from the library. Lily decided to go down the avenue and find out if it were where the real Santa Claus lived. The long winter twilight was beginning when Lily came out of the library. Already the lights from the grocery and the drugstore on the corner beyond warmed the gray, cold stone of the pavement with red light. Further over, past the intersecting street, an arc lamp made a misty star in the dimness. Toward the star of light Lily made her way. Yes, she was on the right side of the street. She was getting nearer, nearer. Lily's heart went pit-a-pat. Oh, there it was. There it was. It was a little shop that bore the number. Over its window was a sign, S.T. Claus. Somewhere Lily thought she had seen Santa Claus's name written that way. It was the very place, no doubt. In the shop window was a wee green tinsel-covered tree. Toys were caught in the branches. They overflowed onto the broad base of the display window. Cats, dogs, carts, steam engines, dolls, baby carriages, jumping jacks. Oh! Lily stood staring, transfixed with wonder, for there in the store, visible through the lighted window, was a small, jolly-looking, white-bearded man, exactly like the picture of Santa Claus in the story-book. To be sure, his white beard was not quite so long, and he wore a gray knit coat instead of a bright red one with white fur on it, but his occupation of stringing Christmas tree chains was so very Santa Claus-like there could be no mistake in identity. Just here he came to the window and added a box of gay candles to the display of toys. He looked out at Lily through the frosty panes and smiled. "Hello," he called by way of cheery greeting. "Hello," returned Lily, and somehow, before she knew it, she was standing in the shop beside the worn counter, looking up into the merry face of Mr. Claus. "It was through the directory that I found you," she smiled. "Rose Snyder, she says there ain't no real Santa Claus, but I says there is for sure. A lot of children must have passed here and not known where Santa Claus lived maybe, but I found you." Santa Claus doubled in a hearty chuckle. "And here I am all the time," he laughed, "just every day." "Didn't anybody know you was the real Santa Claus?" Lily gazed confidently into the old man's bright eyes. "They had ought to know by the sign," she suggested. "How should they?" the little man replied. "Santa Claus, everybody knows he likes to be an ordinary citizen. You won't tell the kids, will you?" Lily hesitated. "No, not if you don't want I should. But there is Rose Snyder, and she says there ain't any real Santa Claus. It was through her saying that I found you in the directory. She said there wasn't no such name there." There was a silence. "I've got it," he announced suddenly. "Just why don't Rose believe in Santa Claus? Because he never brought her any presents, or what?" "I think it's because you forgot her, mostly," returned Lily. "I says to her you forgot me, too, but you didn't know about us, maybe." He thought. "Where do you two kids live?" he questioned, and she told him. "I'll tell you what I'll do," said he. "I don't want the other children to find it out, that I am the real Santa Claus, so you better not tell them. You run home now, and you keep it quiet. Wait till real Santa Claus time at Christmas, then Rose will believe." Ah, yes, and she did. It was a wonderful, wonderful Christmas for Lily and Rose. It was better even than Rose's cousin's Christmas, for they shared together a little tree that was left on Christmas Eve from Santa Claus, and each little girl had a doll and some candy and a game. "It's from the real Santa Claus, and I know him, but you don't, Rosie Snyder," Lily beamed. And Rose retorted, "I do too believe in the real Santa Claus." "I want a story about the real Santa Claus and the little girl," she demanded of the librarian at the children's reading room next day. "Lily Pfeiffer, she says it's an awfully good story, and she likes I should know more about him. It's true for sure, ain't it?" And the librarian smiled. End of The First December Surprise, The Directory Santa Claus by Patton Beard. Number 13 of A Christmas Miscellany 2018 by Various. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Number 13, The Second December Surprise, Mary Elizabeth's Soldierly Christmas. Marjorie's Christmas story was called Mary Elizabeth's Soldierly Christmas. She said she liked it better than the story Dottie chose from the Surprise Book's Christmas Pocket. You can tell what you think about it for yourself, for here it is. Mary Elizabeth looked up from the soldier's scarf she was learning to knit. Her mother, in the rocker beside Mary Elizabeth's hassock, caught a bit of anxious thought that rested between Mary Elizabeth's brown eyes. "What is it?" she asked, putting her hand down upon Mary Elizabeth's to stop the knitting needles. "I was thinking," Mary Elizabeth sighed, "just thinking, Mother. It's going to be a very soldierly Christmas this year, isn't it? But the children, they don't realize it, and they're thinking and talking about Santa Claus. Are we going to have the tree this year?" Mary Elizabeth's mother patted Mary Elizabeth's hand softly. "We've always had one, haven't we, daughter?" she said. "Can you remember the time when we did not have one?" "No," laughed Mary Elizabeth. "I suppose it was when I was too small a baby ever to have a tree, or so little that I didn't know what the lights were, and thought I would like to play with their sparkles. But I do remember the tree we had when I was a little bit older. It was before any of the children came. I was about 3 years old, I think. You told me that the tree was made in honor of the little Christ child's birthday, and I always thought you meant a little child like myself and expected to see him." Mary Elizabeth paused. Then I grew bigger, and by there were all the children and the baby, and I was the oldest, and we all thought that a funny friend who was a jolly old man called Santa Claus brought us the toys we found in our stockings. We thought all the play was real, about his coming down the chimney and about his sleigh with the 8 reindeer. It used to seem strange that so big a man as Santa Claus could squeeze down our chimney, and by I suspected it was all a play, and you told me that it was just a funny, jolly way to make the very little children enjoy the fun of Christmas surprises. You told me then that I might help toward Christmas myself by trimming the tree. That was to be my part. Each year I was to do it all myself, and every year I tried to make it some new and lovely kind of a surprise. I always have loved to fix the tree. I always have felt that it must be the kind of tree that the little Christ child would love if he came in the way that I used to think you meant when I was still little. Your tree has always been a beautiful tree, Mary Elizabeth, Mother smiled. It has always been a tree that shone with happiness. Each year we have loved it so that the children could not bear to part with it at New Year's, you know. Mary Elizabeth smiled, but her question still remained unanswered. Will there be a tree this year? She asked. I'm afraid the children would be sad without it, Mother. I, too, have been thinking, Mary Elizabeth, said Mother. It is indeed a soldierly Christmas. What do you think we had better do? Well, answered Mary Elizabeth thoughtfully, we have the ornaments, though I usually buy some new ones. I would have to get candles. The tree would not cost so very much, only it seems as if every penny ought to go to the little French and Belgian children, and there are the soldiers to send things to, and when everything is the way it is, why, it really hardly seems like Christmas. I know, returned Mother, but we sent all the money in the children's bank and all your money and my money, Mary Elizabeth. We have the soldiers' things all done, almost. I think we ought to have the tree for the children, and you can fix it up somehow, can't you? Yes, smiled Mary Elizabeth, but she was thinking that she must somehow find a way to make that tree as pretty as usual, even without any money to buy things. That day and the next, Mary Elizabeth pondered the question. She thought of this and of that, but nothing seemed quite right. There was no way to earn any money, and the tree had no star for the top. It had been lost somehow. It was not with the tree fixings in the box in the attic. How to get a new star? That was one question. How to get the candles was another. And Mary Elizabeth's tree had always been a tree that people came in to look at and admire. It was not like any other tree. It was always a surprise somehow. Money was needed to buy things to make it wonderful. Money was needed to make it a bright surprise as usual. At school, Mary Elizabeth found herself puzzling over this problem as vacation time drew near. It was harder for her than any arithmetic problem, for it could not be solved at all. Twice she saved 5 cents by walking home, and that bought candles, but the problem remained as usual. It was how to get more money. Then there came the day when the magazine came. It was always something of an event when the magazine came. It had new pictures in it, and often it had cut-out pages for the little children. Once there had been a circus with clowns to cut out, and ever since that time, Brother somehow got a hold of the paper as soon as Mother took it from its wrapper. He was always hoping for more circus, you know. He knew its pages by heart and spelled out the titles and headings of the pictures. When Mary Elizabeth came home one day, he announced that the magazine had come. "What's in it?" questioned Mary Elizabeth. "Pictures," Brother replied mysteriously, "but not any of a circus. It's a puzzle page. You have to guess what the pictures are, and they'll give a prize of $5 to the one who answers and tells what the pictures are." But Brother was still busy with the magazine, and Mary Elizabeth was called away to help Mother with the little sister. She did not see the page, though she thought about it, and wondered if she could answer all the questions and get the money that way to trim the Christmas tree. In the evening, after supper, after the little children had gone off to bed, and Brother, too, with them, she found the magazine and looked it over. Yes, it was a contest, and the pictures were Mother Goose. It seemed easy to guess them. Mary Elizabeth guessed Simple Simon right away. It was the picture of a funny doll fishing in a little pail with a hook and line. She tried the others. She was not so sure of all, but she guessed them with the help of the little children's Mother Goose to refresh her memory. She was so excited that she felt the prize was already hers. She was sure she must win. Just think of it. The first prize was $5 whole, and the second prize was $2 whole, and there were 8 other prizes, each of $1 whole big dollar. 10 chances that Mary Elizabeth might earn some money for her Christmas tree. Her hands shook as she took up pen and put it to paper. She used her very best paper, and 3 times or more she discarded what she had written and tried to do better. She wrote with extreme pains and slowly. It took all the evening just to write the short answer. She put it into its envelope to mail on the way to school next day, but she said nothing about it as she kissed Mother good night. Nearer and nearer came Christmas time. The little children talked more than ever about Santa Claus. Brother planned what kind of a stocking he would hang up. They talked about the tree and asked Mary Elizabeth what she supposed Santa Claus would make as a tree surprise this year. At these times, laughingly, Mary Elizabeth suggested that there would be candles on the tree and that perhaps there would be tinsel. She said that maybe Santa Claus would send all his Christmas to the little French and Belgian children and not have much to make into a surprise here at home. She told them stories about Santa Claus and the Santa Claus land. She played with them to keep them amused, but she thought all the time of the Mother Goose contest, and as time went on she felt less sure each day of having won. Once she passed by the 10-cent store and found a beautiful gold star and wanted to buy it. Then one day Mary Elizabeth actually found a 10-cent piece near a shop upon a busy sidewalk in town. Her heart went thump at the sight of it. She asked several persons if they had lost anything, and they replied no. So Mary Elizabeth went straight to the 10-cent store and bought a star right away. All this time Mary Elizabeth watched anxiously for the postman. The time set for the close of the contest came and passed. No letter was brought to Mary Elizabeth. She knew that she would have had a letter if she had won any prize, of course, but Mary Elizabeth, with her heart heavy as lead, wondered whether she had really ever believed she would win. She admitted that she had. She was sure her work was right, that is, all answers were correct. The writing was neat, there were no blots. She had done her very best. Mary Elizabeth was too soldierly to cry. She told nobody. She set about planning how she would cut paper ornaments out of colored wallpapers and paste them together. She would make some paper dolls and dress them like fairies with the tissue paper she had. She would make wings with tissue paper, too. She would ask Mother to let her make some gingerbread animals and men to use on the tree. She would gild some nuts and pine cones, maybe. There was the star. There was the box of candles. Those were something. But if only she did have money, she would trim her tree with the emblems of all the Allies and have a really soldierly Christmas tree. Mary Elizabeth went into her room and locked her door tight. She took the key of her lower bureau drawer and sat down upon the floor beside it and drew it out. In it lay all the Christmas tree things with the box of candles and the star. As she looked at the bright Christmas things, a tear dropped upon her lap. Oh, it might have been so different. Why is it that when one is just in the midst of Christmas planning, somebody comes to the door and knocks? Did you ever spread all your things out on a bed or table or on the floor and fail to have somebody come to knock at your door and demand to be let in right away? There came a knock at Mary Elizabeth's, but first the latch had been tried. "Let me in, Mary Elizabeth," cried Brother. "I can't," returned Mary Elizabeth. "You can." Thumpity thump thump thump. "Go away," admonished Mary Elizabeth. "I shan't let you in. You can't come in." "Well, you'll be sorry," said the muffled voice of Brother. "You'll be sorry." But he left off knocking at the door and ran away. Mary Elizabeth wondered if perhaps he suspected about the play of Santa Claus. He was getting to be quite big. Maybe he knew about the tree. Maybe he would have to be let into the fun of Christmas planning next year. But was it fun? Wasn't it dreadful to worry about the tree and plan how to make it all new? No, it was not worry. No, it was not. Mary Elizabeth denied this stoutly. It was part of the self-sacrifice of Christmas to think about it as she had, and there would be a lovely tree. Yes, there would, somehow. She had managed to make a grand surprise of it. Oh, yes, she would. Mary Elizabeth smiled and was ashamed of that little hot tear. She put the Christmas tree things back into the drawer one by one, and she closed and locked the drawer. Then she went to the window and looked out across the snow. She thought maybe some cotton would look pretty and snowy on the tree like that. She heard Brother at the door again, but she wasn't quite ready to let him in. She wanted to be alone and think. She did not want to tell stories about Santa Claus. His little voice came plaintively, "Please, Mary Elizabeth, let me in. I'll tell you something nice if you'll let me in." But Mary Elizabeth was not ready to hear what Brother thought Santa Claus was going to bring. She did not go to the door. Then she heard his soft little footsteps trot away down the hall, and she felt sorry. She opened the door to run after him, and there, where Brother had left it, there lay a big square envelope with the name of the magazine upon it. Mary Elizabeth gasped. She tore it open and read, "Dear Mary Elizabeth, your good work has merited the reward of the second prize of $2 offered in the Mother Goose contest. The money is enclosed, and we hope that it will bring with it a very happy Christmas." Happy Christmas! Hooray! Oh, how fine! Happy Christmas! Why, of course, Happy Christmas! Wasn't it splendid? Wasn't it a surprise? Waving the letter, she hugged everybody that she met. Mother, Brother, and all the children. Something splendid had happened, they all agreed. Everybody congratulated Mary Elizabeth, but only Mother really guessed why Mary Elizabeth didn't spend it all right then and there the very first day in buying candy and peanuts. That was what Brother and the little children suggested. But next day, after vacation had really begun, and when the little children and Brother were safely out of the way, Mary Elizabeth, with her little red kid purse, slipped out of the house and off to buy the flags of the Allies to use for the Christmas tree. Mary Elizabeth had decided, too, what the Christmas surprise was to be. Yes, it would be a tree covered with flags, and Old Glory would be with the star at the top. And then came tree trimming, and the tree was, it was ever so much more wonderful than any tree had ever been before. Everybody said so. The little children said so. Brother said so. Mary Elizabeth herself knew it was so. All the poor little children who came to the tree said so. It was Mother, however, who knew about the very soldierly Santa Claus that had made the tree so lovely. It honored the little Christ child's birthday, dear, she said, as she kissed Mary Elizabeth good night. It is the tree of the soldiers who are fighting for all that Christmas means. The star was there, replied Mary Elizabeth. End of the 2nd December Surprise, Mary Elizabeth's Soldierly Christmas.